The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network. And hello and welcome to a Wednesday episode of Running Point on YSNLive.com, brought to you by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig with you, Scotty Mincher on the side, Gary Altizer down there. You know what Wednesdays are in the winter seasons. It's Wrestling Wednesdays with Gary Altizer, Season 4, Episode 2. Gary, how we doing?
I'm doing good. Right in the thick of wrestling season, because I look out my window and I see snowflakes falling in a Wrestling Wednesday on my computer. It's a good day.
Snowflakes are there. The cold weather is there. Scotty, how are we doing over there?
I'm good. I hope you forgive me for my tardy.
You got in during the intro. You're fine.
Okay, good. Thank you. I'm good.
Anthony said every minute you're late is a Winn-Dixie that you have to feel.
Go.
So
that's 3 right there. Boom, boom, boom.
I did a lot in therapy yesterday. I'm trying to bulk up.
Trying to bulk up a little bit. Gary, we have the wrestling season officially underway. We have results from the weekend. I know your team got to go down to Malvern and compete as well. Talk about some things that you saw that caught your eye over the weekend in our recap.
Well, it's wrestling season. I saw some familiar faces. Coaches from Waterloo, Jackson, Milton, Liberty, Southern Local. Seeing all the familiar faces from the coaches, and really got to see, like we talked about last week, some new names this year, some new faces, and some faces I don't even know their names yet because they are kind of starting to shine on their own. But what really stood out to me was the new rule changes, the 4-point back points, the 3-point takedown, the wrestling out of bounds. That really was something, that was the main thing that stood out to me this weekend, as it really is going to change things. Maybe they'll be subtle at first, but I think as the season goes on and progresses, we're going to see how they impact things, and we'll see the good and the bad that comes from it.
Yeah, and I think we kind of teed that up last week when we talked about these rule changes and what it was going to look like. What are some of the things that you expect? I guess I should say. You said ups and downs. What are some of the things that you saw this weekend that you think we need to be weary of, I guess, in this wrestling season?
I mean, with the increase in the points of a takedown, I really expect to see a lot more kids, kicking their opponents. And when I say that, I don't mean with their foot. I mean just letting them up, because with the extra point that you're getting, you're only giving up. It used to be 2 takedown, 1 escape. You gain a net of 1. Now you gain a net of 2. So you're probably going to see more of that. The back points going from 3 to 4. Obviously, that's huge too. But I would say takedowns. You see more takedowns in wrestling than you do probably turns, or at least for some some individuals, some schools, some programs, you're going to see the increase in that. But really, the out of bounds rule is the one I think that stood out most to me. Because wrestling, you're talking about a point here or there. that, that's going to change things a little bit. But being able to wrestle out of bounds, that was great. I loved that part of it. The referees not having to blow the whistle to reset, letting them run out of bounds with 1 point of contact from either wrestler in bounds. I thought that was great. I think it's a great thing for the sport. And I think the referees were really good about it. They were cognizant of what was going on around. And if they were in a spot where, hey, we can't let them wrestle out of bounds because there's a coach's chair, there's a wall, there are spectators, we'll blow the whistle. But if there isn't, we're going to let it go and let this match continue. And I think as the season goes on, as the officials get more comfortable with it, get better with it, it's only going to be a plus for the sport, because stopping constantly just makes these matches take longer. It also takes kids out of the positions that they worked hard to get into. So I'm just excited for that, and I hope that it really lives up to what the potential that I've seen so far.
We got some results around the YSN family as well from other places. West Branch, their boys and girls were both in action. Their boys went to Beechwood in an invitational. Beechwood, as Gary knows, and as we all know, we've talked about how they host and what kind of program they have. West Branch finished 4th overall as a team. Here are their placers for the Warriors. JJ Amara finished 2nd. Cameron Brandt finished 2nd. Gavin Hung finished 2nd. Jackson Benner placed 3rd. Grady Rockwell placed 6th. And then some awards for him, too. Bratt won the fastest pin award. And then Benner won the most pins in the least amount of time award for the Warriors. So that's a good start for that team, finishing 4th. They're going to be back at it at the Riverside Rumble Invitational this week. That's their next match. Gary, we know about the West Branch program, but a freshman winning the most pins in the least amount of time award at his first invitational, that's a pretty impressive feat to go and finish place 3rd and then get an award in your first varsity match as a freshman.
Hey, it creates some great momentum for the kid for the season. Sometimes you'll see kids start like that, have a good first tournament, and that can carry them throughout the season because, it gives them some confidence to build on, shows them that they can wrestle at this level. Sometimes you'll see kids be timid when they're in 9th grade, coming up, seeing that they have to, wrestle juniors and seniors. But good for him. Hopefully that motivates him to really show that he can battle with the guys that are older and in these tournaments. And I know there's nothing a coach loves more than a freshman coming in and contributing to the team immediately.
The other award winner for West Branch, Cameron Bratt, who won the most pins award. He is a senior, so you get an award from one of your experienced veterans.
Mm-hmm.
You get an award from one of your new guys. That's got to be fun as a coach.
It absolutely is. The team aspect of wrestling, I don't think is talked about enough. But when you can get everybody to contribute, I heard a quote once when I was a kid from Coach Larry Shaw. He coached at Oak Glen, which is right across the river from Wellsville here in the Hancock County area, West Virginia. And he said, tournaments are not won by your best wrestlers. They're won by everybody else. It's everybody contributing, everybody winning matches, everybody scoring bonus points with pins, tech falls, and majors. That's how your team wins. So as a coach, if you're getting multiple guys with awards and multiple guys on the podium, winning matches, freshmen coming up and contributing, the team aspect there in West Branch is probably really something the coach is focusing on, something he's got to be happy with right now.
And then on the other side, we want to congratulate West Branch for a historic moment for their school. They have put together a women's team for the first time in school history, and they were able to compete in the obviously first competition as a team in school history. They finished 8th overall in Hickory over in PA, but they did get a champ in Jocelyn Brink. She won her weight division, and then they also had placers from Grace Bates and Brooklyn Stauffer. They both placed 4th. So a good start. We talked about it last year. We'll talk about more this year with the OHSA recognizing girls wrestling as a sport. You're going to see more and more programs be able to have enough interest and enough girls there to start programs.
Yeah, hey, it's just continuing to grow. It's a great thing for the sport. I'm so glad to see it continue to build on the momentum that it's had so far. sometimes you'll see things like this, new sports come out, people try them, and then it kind of goes by the wayside. It doesn't seem to be happening with wrestling and the girls' side, and I hope it just continues. I hope that someday we need to put the girls in a separate arena from the boys when we have the state tournament, in Columbus. I hope we need a whole new arena for them.
West Branch will be back in action on the girls' side on Friday. They're going to go to Mount Union and play in the Friday Night Lights Invitational, which is hosted by United at Mount Union. So that'll be a fun time for them because that's a good venue for a wrestling tournament over at Mount Union.
Yeah, it's a really nice facilities over there. And I've been in there before. It's all new. It's all updated. That'll be fun for them and get to see the campus and see where, college wrestling happens.
Gary, what are some of the results that you saw over the first weekend?
So Beaver Local East Liverpool competed at the Cambridge Invitational. Louisville also competed and won the tournament. Beaver Local had one champ. Louisville had several. East Liverpool had a couple. I'm sorry, East Liverpool was at Union Local, but Beaver Local and Louisville were at Cambridge, with Louisville coming home with the championship. At Union Local, East Liverpool had several champions. Kyle Ingram was first at 113, and then they had a couple of others that were placers as well as another champion. Salem, again, won that Madison Ashton Hind Invitational. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. They had a couple of firsts. They were first as a team last year and this year. They had a whole bunch of kids place. Jefferson was sixth. Brookfield was ninth. Brookfield had a champion at 106, a Reed. 138, Burt from Salem was first. For Salem at 113, German was second. 144, Joey Kana was first. And at 150, Sean German was first for Salem. And 165, Stecker was second. And then at the Comet Classic, Canfield finished second as a team. Cheney sixth, and Mineral Ridge eighth. That's a new program there in Mineral Ridge there. Continuing to grow. I saw that they have some better numbers this season, and they're out competing. That's a great thing for them. At 113, Dovich for Canfield was a champion. At 120, Tony Raptist, I believe how you pronounce that, was second. At 132, Vernon from Cheney was third. At 190, Toth from Canfield first. And 215, Payne from Cheney was second. I did not get any of the results from the Fitch duels. That would be interesting to see, but dual matches, dual tournaments are really hard to get results because there isn't any congregated software where people come and put all of their results in. So those are the ones that I had off the top of my head. We were at the Malvern tournament, Youngstown, Liberty, Waterloo, Jackson, Milton, Southern, Wellsville. We're all there. Southern come away with the win. I believe Youngstown Liberty was second or third. It was a long weekend of wrestling. We were at our tournament for about 12 hours. If you count the drive in there, we was over 14, 15-hour day we had in. But that's the way it goes during wrestling season. So it was a good weekend.
So here's what we got from Austin Town Fitch via socials. They were able to send us some stuff. They went 5-0. They beat Riverside 76-4. They beat Poland 70-8. They were able to beat Firestone 81-0. They beat Howland 62-18, and they beat Hudson 50-17. They had 9 different wrestlers go 5-0. So I think that's a pretty good start.
Yeah, I would say so. Man, right off the bat coming out, sweeping that, winning, their home tournament to open up the season. Congrats to them.
So those are some results there. What's coming up? What are some things to keep an eye on? Are there big things happening this weekend?
The one that sticks out to me is the Hopple Invitational at Beaver Local. There'll be a lot of local teams at that one. And then the following week, at least for us, we're headed to Waterloo for the Division III Classic. There'll be, over 20 teams there for that one, the 20th and the 21st. And after this weekend, things get a lot slower over the Christmas break. There aren't as many local tournaments, but then that first week in January it's just one after the other. And then once you get into the middle of February, you're headed to the conference tournaments and then sectionals at the end of February.
Yeah, well, we went way into the. Let's go. Let's take things back. We don't want to talk about February yet. We're having too much fun in December. Scotty, I want to get you in the conversation a little bit. I know you have a lot on your mind with Gary in the house. So, Scotty, what are some things that you want to ask?
Yeah, always. So I guess I wanted to start with Gary. Like, from being on with you a few years now and just, you know, looking at like just your demeanor, and you always seem pretty even kill and composed. But what I wanted to ask you was, as a coach early on in the season, like obviously you want your guys to have success and you want to win. Are you a little more lenient? Is it more early in the season you're more process based than the results based of winning? Or is it, it's early, let's, jump on the opponent what we can early, and maybe they're a little more vulnerable because of the long, some wrestlers in the long football season and what have you. So does your like mindset change um, in comparison to like early in the season compared to when it gets a little bit later? Or is it pretty much all the same where you want to win, but it's more of you're basing it on the process and their technique, and if they're doing things soundly?
Another great question from Scotty. That's a great question. Great thought process there. And just for me personally, and I think a lot of coaches would agree, it's all about the process. The wins will take care of themselves if you're doing the things the right way, if you're practicing the right way, if you're drilling with intensity, and that old saying, practice makes perfect, is incorrect. Perfect practice makes perfect. If you're drilling your moves and your situations the right way, the correct way, with your mindset and where you're putting your body, the wins will come. So I know that I would never in my life have any, how do I want to say this? I wouldn't have anything but gratitude and pride in a kid who is out there doing everything that we've taught him to do, everything that he's supposed to do, and did everything right and still lost. That honestly feels much better than a win that maybe you get by catching someone in a bad move. Of course, we want to win. Nobody wants to lose. Losing, is not fun. Winning is fun. But I think that takes care of itself if the kids are doing the things that they're supposed to, if they're giving 100% the entire 6 minutes on the mat, and they are wrestling the way that they're taught to wrestle, doing the moves that they are taught to do in the situations that they're taught. They are, practicing the counters to moves in practice and then hitting them in matches. All of that, I think, from day one on until the end of the season is what matters most. Now, there are a lot of coaches that say everything's practice until sectionals. And really, that's probably where the kids' most focus is, because they all want to be state qualifiers, state placers, and state champs. So maybe you get a little bit more results based when it comes then, because if you don't get in the top 4 of the sectional or district tournament, you're headed home. So maybe there's a little bit more of that there, if I'm being completely and totally transparent. But I think focusing on the process, like you said, is definitely where I would fall into that. And I can't think of many coaches who wouldn't fall in that same spot.
In the same line of thinking, Gary, is where we're talking about this. We hear from coaches all over every sport to talk about how much when they finally get that positive result, it backs up what they've been trying to teach their kids about what you're saying about trusting the process. When you have a kid who's doing everything right, trusting the process, but the results just aren't there yet, how do you keep them motivated and stop them from backing down from the process or feeling like the process isn't working, or a lack of confidence? How do you kind of navigate that, trying to keep them online with, hey, we're doing the right things, we're going to have those results, but they have to kind of see that. And it's hard for kids that are 14 to 17 years old to necessarily grasp that they're doing the right thing when the results aren't coming.
Absolutely. Another great question. Really, that's where your job as a coach comes in. I believe that's where you've got to focus on small victories and make them big victories. You got to let the kids know, hey, you're close, man. You're so close. You're right there. You're almost there. You're doing everything you need to do. You're getting better and better every match. You're doing the things that you're told. Keep pushing and keep building that kid up every week, because the losses can be really tough. And, I talk about this all the time in sports that, I hate that everything is based on wins and losses. I mean, you play a football or basketball schedule, and let's say you schedule 10 or 22 state champions around the country, and you lose by 1 point to every team. Uh, all people are going to look at, for the most part, all people do is say, wow, you're 0-10, you're 0-22. But they're not looking at, the context to that. I wish more people did look at the context to that, especially the kids. But they are kids. They're emotional, and they're green in life. They haven't experienced much in the grand scheme of things. So you as a coach, you have to do your job, build them up, let them know they're doing great. Maybe point it out in practice. I try to do that sometimes. If I know a kid is not coming out with the results that they want, but man, they're close, I will point it out in practice to all of them. And I'll tell them, the kids, hey, look what your teammates doing. Look how well they've been practicing and how it's been translating. Even though it's not turning into wins, they're right there. And I promise you that those wins are going to start coming because they're doing the right things. And that really helps to build a kid up, telling them that they've done a good job. When they walk by you at the tournament, you're fist bumping, you're slapping five, you're telling them, let's go. You could, I know that you can do the things that we've taught you. I know that you could win this match, but I know you can go out there and battle regardless if you win or lose. Those kind of things go a long way. And I think as a coach, sometimes we can get caught up in the chaos that is wrestling season. And I have to remind myself all the time that these kids are going to remember how I make them feel a lot more than they're going to remember what the team finished.
Yeah, and I think that's awesome, especially when we're talking about this level. I know we hear a lot of college coaches and pro coaches pipe in the line that there are no mortal victories, and that's more based on when you're kind of doing it more as a job than you are in the high school level. But I think especially here when you're trying to develop kids and build kids' confidence, take the small victories when you can get them. Take the moral victory. There's nothing wrong with it.
No, and there is no professional wrestling. And I'm not talking about the WWE. There's no professional wrestling. There are no $1 million contracts in this sport, unless your name's David Taylor, I guess. He's the head coach of Oklahoma State, and he got one of those, the first that I've ever known. But now with the NIL, now that's changing. There are rumors about Marcus Blaze, the kid I talked to you guys about last week, the number one kid in the country. And one caveat, when I said he beat 3 national champs and a 4-time national finalist, those were college national champs and a 4-time college national finalist. I realized I didn't give you guys some context. That's the level that high school wrestling is going to. And I heard that he got, who knows how true this is, he turned down a $2.4 million NIL deal with the Buckeyes to go to Penn State. So maybe there isn't pros, but there could be these NIL is going to change things. I'm so happy for the sport of wrestling that the money's coming in, because it does give kids another goal or another thing to look up to. You don't want it to be about money, but most of them, if not almost all of them, are not going to go on and make money from wrestling. This is going to more about, and we've talked about this for 4 years now, about the lessons that it teaches you about life, about the hard work, about how they're going to be living life and doing something really hard as an adult. And they're going to think back that this is not as hard as wrestling practice. And they're going to think back of the lessons that they learned and how grinding is not going to be a foreign subject to them. It's going to be something they learned how to do for 4 months a year. So focusing on the moral victories is something you have to do as a high school coach, especially if you're coming from a place that, hey, you have to fill your roster with the kids that come out. You don't have your choice of 50 kids on a roster. You've got to build up the kids that you have and you've got to focus on the things that they're doing good, improve on the things that they're not, and really take that as far as you can. And then if the wins come, that will be a win in itself. Sometimes will do all the talking for you. So get them built up until that starts happening at the very least.
Scotty, any follow-ups to that, bud?
I you talked, and I think this is a good discussion because I think it's easy, and when you're talking about sports, and it's easy to get so caught up on the result and the winning and losing gear. And I guess what I wanted to ask was, do you think you talked about some of the really tremendous wrestlers and what they've been able to do? Do you feel like in your 10 year, and now that this is your 10th year as a head coach, do you feel like these kids have gotten better and better even at a younger age? Like, do you feel like it's changed pretty drastically in the time, or do you think it's been a little more subtle?
I mean, I guess there is some subtle. It didn't happen overnight, but the leaps that the kids are making now is just it's at another level. The time that I mean, you still have to put your time in. You still have to put years in. You still have to put hundreds of matches in. That's not going to ever change. But I think because of the high level coaching that's out there, the high level competition that, social media now has these guys, some of these wrestlers are making money now. That's another place that people are making money with these social media accounts, with these YouTube channels and these social media pages where they're posting these moves. There's a couple of guys that make full-time living, six-figure salaries just from the social media content alone. But they are showing things that they do. They're showing drills that they do. They're showing ways that they practice. They're showing moves. And these clubs, these places where you can go and practice and learn from these high-level wrestlers and coaches are popping up more and more. So I think that it is happening faster, but I don't think that the word fast will ever be used when you talk about getting to a high level in the sport.
Gary, as we continue to preview the weeks ahead, Hoban, who we talked about last week, they are going to get started this weekend. They go to Solon for a tournament, and it starts a stretch for Hoban where they will not have a weekend off until the second weekend in January. So this is their slate. This weekend they go to Solon. Then they're at Hudson, the holiday tournament on the 20th and 21st. And then the weekend after Christmas, they go to St. Clairsville. And then after that, on January 4th, they're going to be at Perry, Penn City Invitational. And they finally get some time off before they go to Capitol on January 17th. So a long stretch of wrestling for Hoban coming up.
Yeah, I don't know if they had anything the first weekend or not.
No, I think they said that this is going to be kicking off their season today. I mean, weekend.
Yeah, they played well into the football season. That there's no surprise there. I'm sure a lot of those kids also play football. I think it's that Solon Comet Classic. I think is that first one. They've got a couple of highly ranked kids at the heavier weights. Some of those tournaments will be, there'll be some good competition there. We used to wrestle at that St. Clairsville tournament. That's one you never know what you're going to get. You get teams from Toledo, from downstate West Virginia. You could get really big schools. You get Pennsylvania schools there. That'll be some good competition. So I'll be interested to see how that team does, and especially, those highly ranked kids, especially after the injury last year that prevented, some postseason competition for those brothers to come this season. I think that they're both going to have great years, and they'll be highly on our radar.
Yeah, I think so too, Gary. I think when we saw a couple of guys last year fall short because of injury, and they talked to us and they said we're going to prove that that state championship, that time at the state tournament, that wasn't me at my healthiest peak. I forget who came on and talked about it, but it can motivate you when you feel like you weren't really able to do what your potential says because of an injury the next year when you're back to being healthy.
I think that was Nick Bowser who
Yeah.
talked about that, and he talked about how he just couldn't wait until his senior year. He got on the podium. I believe he placed in the top 4. Yeah, I mean, gosh, I can't imagine the amount of fire that there will be after, not being able to compete in the postseason like that. Just the hunger would increase, especially if you've seen, kids that you've beat during the regular season, some of them multiple times, getting on the podium and doing great things, and that could be you. That probably has been the focus in the off season. That, hey, I can't wait to get back and show everybody that should have been me last year.
And then Boardman Wrestling, they'll be at the Hopple tonight, this weekend for Beaver Local, but they get started tonight as well. They will go to Howland for a try with the Tigers and Chardon, so we look forward to getting some results in from the Spartans as we continue to see teams get more and more results in.
And that'll be a good try to go to with those 3, and that Hopple Invitational will be one to watch. Beaver Local always wrestles well at home, and they're another one. That tournament, you can really have some high-level wrestlers coming in from all kinds of teams.
We can't wait for those results. We'll be back next week to talk about them and talk about all the other results across the YSN family. And like I said, we will do our darndest to get players on this Wrestling Wednesday throughout the season to highlight them and their journey as well as coaches. We're not opposed to bringing on wrestling coaches to Wrestling Wednesday either. So we will look forward to that as we hop into episode 3 next week. Obviously, we won't be on the week after because it's Christmas Day.
Well, you guys got something better to do?
Not
really.
Not really. It's Christmas, man. Oh man, no, we're taking the day off.
Okay.
We will be back next week for episode 3 of Wrestling Wednesday on Running Point. But until then, we are going to take a break. When we come back, we will recap all the action from last night. We had hoops go down, girls and boys, on Tuesday. We will talk about all that, preview the night that is going to be happening on the network tonight. And all that's coming up next on Running Point, brought to you by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
Craftsmanship to us is 60 years of pride and dedication.
Passed down from generation to generation.
The hardwood floors that your kids take their first steps on.
The solid wood doors you quietly close at night.
The things we create day in and day out are the products that end up turning your house into a home.
At Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, uncompromising quality and craftsmanship built our business.
And it will keep us moving forward for generations to come.
Going the extra mile at Greenwood Chevrolet means we want to take care of the community that takes care of us too.
And we have to work together always. And that's how you stay in business for 40 years.
You know, I love being a helper because when I help somebody, it makes me feel good.
It means a lot that I can make a difference in others' lives.
So I will do everything I can and just being there for them every step of the way.
I want them to know within the first 5 minutes that they could depend on me. That's what going the extra mile means, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun. It all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by our good friends right above our heads, Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. You heard from them in the commercial break. Anthony Hartwig, Scotty Mincher with you. Scotty, we had a ton of results come in from last night. Let's hop into the scoreboard and see what we have as results came in. Scotty, the YSN scoreboard brought to you by
Burnett Pools, Spas, and Hot Tubs. We've got it all.
And the YSN scoreboard is a great tool for the fans on YSN, whether you are at one of the games or watching one of our broadcasts. Either way, you don't want to look away from the screen for too long. And the YSN scoreboard is a great and easy way to get live updated stats from your favorite teams across the YSN family. We will go into yesterday's scoreboard, and then we'll talk about tonight and today. Actually, we had some hoops at noon and at Badger going on today. That game should be wrapping up, I believe, here in a little bit. But we talk about girls basketball first. Last night, the MVAC in action on Tuesday and Fridays. We saw Jackson Milton go to Sebring, and it was the Blue Jays that get the big win, 54-15. Bristol now hosting St. John. They get the win 35-20. Springfield all over Campbell, 50-17, the final score there. We go into Edgewood. And Edgewood was able to get the win over Conneaut, 48-38, the final score there. And then last but not least for girls basketball, Middle Ridge went to Lowville, got the win, 47-38 in that game. That game was tied going into the fourth quarter, Middle Ridge, with a big final frame to get the 9-point win. We go to boys basketball last night, Niles and Jefferson, two old school NE8 rivals, and it is a 62-53 win for the Falcons on the road. Salem able to take care of United, 56-45. We have Southeast. They fell to Garfield, 80-45. Congratulations to Preston Gideon from Garfield, the newest member of the 1,000-point club. We congratulate him on a fantastic career to this point, and we know that he's going to continue to do great things this year. Lindsley able to knock off Fitch, 76-60. Boardman beats East, 89-51. A lot of offense for the Spartans. Canfield edges Poland in the Battle of 224, 40-38, the final score. We have Howland beating LeBray, 50-40. Beaver Local holds off Harrison Central, 50-48, the final score in that one. Columbiana offense does enough, 60-51. They get the win over Lakeview. East Palestine all over Jefferson County Christian, 71-35, your final score. Latonia is 2-1 on the year as they get their second win over the Urban Scholars, 55-20, the final score. Lisbon able to hold off Brookfield, 56-48, the final score in that one. There was only one quarter in that game that was decided by more than 1 point, and it was the third quarter. So a big third quarter for Lisbon, able to get them enough separation from Brookfield. Edison comes into Southern, gets the win, 76-56. Mooney is able to edge Valley Christian, 47-41, the final score there. Toronto comes into Wellsville and upends the Tigers, 72-45. Crestview on the road gets to win, 55-34 over Jackson Milton. We go to Girard, where Liberty came into town and gets the 60-53 victory over Girard. Newton Falls, they are edged out by Lake Center Christian by just 3 points, 49-46, the final score. Rootstown beats Waterloo, 50-43. A lot of close games going on last night. Badger falls to Grand Valley. A lot of offense for the Mustangs. Just when you thought the Boardman's 89 was going to be the high mark of the night, Grand Valley comes in and says, not so fast, my friend. They have 95 points on the night, and they win 95-56 over Badger. That's impressive. That might be, we'll have to come back at the end of the season, but that might be the high mark of the year. I don't know if we'll see someone get over 95 this year. Matthews gets to win over Pymatuning Valley, 76-52. Ursuline goes on the road, St. Thomas Aquinas, and wins by 25, 75-50. Hoban able to run away from Massillon Jackson 72-59. Indian Creek and East Liverpool, and East Liverpool beats them up on the road 64-34, the final score there. Mohawk goes on the road and gets the tight loss to Deer Lakes 80-76. Tough one for the Warriors. But Beaver all over Shenango 69-40. Brady Mayo for the Beaver Bobcats scoring 41 points on the night, a big reason why they were able to win. On the boys' side, Bristol beats St. John 77-57. And then Lordstown beats Chalker by the final score of 42-35. That is your scoreboard for the night. Scotty, what are some of your takeaways?
I really think that so far early in the season, I think you look at a team like Latonia, and I think it's very important and good for them to get off to a good start, a winning record through the first 3 games of the season, and it's one of those things where I think that you look at it and it's basketball. I don't think it's so much result based, especially early. It's more how are we getting better every single day, because everyone's gonna have an opportunity to make some noise as the season goes on. I like the Poland Canfield game a lot. That was a closely contested battle in the battle of 224. So had an eye on that one. There's quite a few. I think that Newton Falls, they're always a team, and I know they had a close loss last night on the boys' side, but they're always a team I kind of have my eye on. They came up just short last night. I keep an eye on them because a good friend of mine went to school there and talked about how they were pretty good the years he went to school there in basketball. So there's other games too. I think like lastly, the East getting a big time start to the year. I think it is important for East, but
You're talking the East girls, because the boys.
Well, I was gonna say they got it's a rough start against Boardman, but I don't want to jump to conclusion early. And I think they could improve as the season moves forward. But they're kind of a team that I keep an eye on it as well. But I think that as we go forward into the season, it'll be interesting to see coach, especially if we have some lower scoring games and we have those games where it's kind of a grind all the way through, and there's pretty good defense and it's high intensity. It'll be interesting to see if the offense could kind of break through and we get those high scoring games. But I know it was a tough night for the East Bears, but long way to go. So
long way to go. We're for boys basketball especially, there's maybe 4 games that the most teams have under their slate right now. So that means 18 games left for even those teams. There are some boys teams that because of their football run haven't even started yet. That was Poland's first game of the year last night. South Range doesn't start till Friday. They had that deep football run. So it's very, very, very early for basketball indeed. Scotty, it is time for the most dangerous question in all of local sports streaming. What's on your mind today?
Okay, it's time to get dangerous. To start off, I want to keep it local. I do. Before it's out of here, I do want to get your thoughts on my sad sack Cleveland Browns taking on your two-time defending champion Chiefs. But first, before that, I just wanted to know, kind of piggybacking off of what some of the stuff I talked about and asked Gary, I wanted to know for you as a fan, Anthony, and when you were in school, and I'm talking about as far as basketball goes. Do you look at it as it's early in the year and it's a chance to kind of make a statement? I know that every school they're gonna have that opportunity at the end of the season. And there's a lot of games, but do you think it's for you? Do you kind of get a little more excited when, like, a team like, say, South Range, who would be starting their season, if they get out of the gate strong, does it give you a little more excitement, even though it's not the end all be all? Because it's like one of those things where we put high focus on the start of the season and everyone has that like internal hope. Do you put more significance on it?
Look, I mean, I don't know. I mean, every game counts, right? So even though we're sitting here, we're talking about like, hey, it's a long season. You're pacing yourself. You want to be playing your best basketball when you get into February and March. At the same time, like, if you can get off to a good start, you want to. I mean, let's just say you start 8-0, right? That's a pretty good start. That's still a little chunk of the season. It's not guaranteeing a very great season, but it's an 8-0 start. From 8-0, you have to go what? 3 out of the next 14, so 3-11 to just to guarantee a winning record. So that's, I mean, good starts are important. Good starts put you in a spot where you don't have a lot of pressure to win games in February, right? Which can be really hard. Like if you're sitting in the conference race and you're maybe 2 games down, and then into January pops up, and you got games against the top 2 teams, you get it's must win territory, right? But if you got off to a better start, maybe you wouldn't be in that situation. Maybe you'd be in the driver's seat, right? So yeah, good starts are really important. You want to get off to good starts. I think the beauty of the long basketball season is that even though you want to, and you definitely try hard to get off to a good start, if you don't, it's not necessarily the end of the world. Like 1-5, very escapable. So if you're 1-5 on the year, you can sit there and you can say, okay, but we can still go. If we won the rest of our games, we would still be 17-5. If we lose a couple more, we can still end the year at 15-7. I would take a 15-7 record after a 1-5 start. So I think you can kind of cool your jets a little bit when you get off to a bad start, but you want to get off to a really good start, especially when you're a team like South Range. Now, like, it's not necessarily fair for the basketball program to just be like, hey, sorry about your luck. A football team ran long, and now you're opening the season with a conference road game, and it's one that you got to go win, right? You got to go steal games on the road for a team that wants to win the NE8. They came in second last year, so they're going to be eyeing that first place spot. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a tough way to start the season. Hey, got to go to Girard, and it's a road game, and you can't really afford too many losses because this NE8 is really good, and you're gonna have to keep pace with a lot of good teams. So, I think it's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be fun to see what happens.
And I think it will be a lot of fun. Do you like that though, Anthony? Just real quick from South Range's perspective, and we'll kind of put a bow on this, and then I'll ask you about the football, professional football. But do you think, like, because South Range, especially in football, they've kind of become that like giant, like you know they're gonna be really good every single year. Do you think like it kind of leaks over to the basketball program too? And even though they're starting the season on the road, do you think it's an environment where you're really gonna see the Raiders, even if they don't win, you expect them to play really well because it's just kind of the culture thing we talked about before? Do you think it's maybe one of those things where you love home cooking, but the South Range, part of what makes them cook is just being that like wounded animal? So do you think playing on the road is might be a better thing than starting at home? Or
I don't know. Excuse me. In this situation, when you are behind the 8 ball as it is, because you just got your football guys and you've been able to work with them for maybe a week, so you've had 1 week of having your full team in practice. I think I'd kind of want to start at home a little bit. Be comfortable. Have those guys have a little bit of extra comfort zone. Have a little bit bigger fan base. Probably a few more students willing to go to a home game than go to a road game. So in this situation, Scotty, South Range won't be faced by the road. They're not going to be like, hey, we can't win a road game. But at the same time, if I was Coach Carden, I'd be wanting a home game in that situation, because anything that you can take off your kid's plate and when you're in this situation would be good. And you're putting a very passionate Girard fan base on their plate. They get up for basketball. So that's going to be a test, but we're going to see what they do on Friday. And they have Luke Rowan back, and they have Nate Lewis still back as their point guard. I know they lost Landon Moore, and that's a big senior to lose, but they still have pieces there. Graham Heikkinen coming back for his senior year at South Range. He'll kind of be that post presence, but he can also handle the ball, so he can come out a little bit if they need him to. I think there's a lot of pieces there for South Range. We saw Poland play really, really good in that 2-point loss to Canfield, so they're not going anywhere in the league. That's for sure. Girard looks a lot better in the times that we've seen him. Niles looks pretty good. I know they brought a couple of kids in as new freshmen, so this league's going to be tough, and that's why South Range can't feel sorry for themselves going on the road to Girard, because to start the season 0-1 inside the conference, that becomes a big mountain to climb, because then the margin for error quickly shrinks inside conference play if you start 0-1.
And I guess we can continue using South Range is kind of.
Of course, why not?
Kind of. Yeah, you're on.
Scotty, you're always trying to make me sound like a homer, man. You're always this pushing me right into the homer category, man. I'll tell you what.
I mean, but even for a school like, say, like Poland, who just we can get off of the Raiders, but
you can go wherever you want. It's your segment.
Do you think because like early on in the year because you talked about you always want to get off to a good start, but you could really, you could even be okay if you start like, 1-5, 1-6. You talked about that. So do you think it's just like with any sport, it's almost like earlier in the year you have a little bit more breathing room, like you don't have to press and change things up if you're not getting the wins, you could kind of stick with that process a little bit longer, especially basketball? Or do you think it's one of those things, because a good start could really catapult you to a winning record even if you play 500? Do you think coaches are more prone to make those adjustments earlier, or do you think it's more of a game to game thing and not just going on like the strong points of the team every time they take the floor?
Scotty, I think you want to go into a season, especially after like 2 or 3 games, knowing what you are going to be good at, what you're going to be strengths are. You don't want to be figuring out your lineups 3 weeks into the season. Hey, what rotation can I use? Like if you haven't figured it out in 3 weeks, you're behind the 8 ball a little bit. So I think you use your scrimmages, you use your practices to try to figure out what kind of rotations are going to work and what kids play well together. Now, like I said, there are teams that because of their long football run are kind of unable to do that. You can't go out and scrimmage a bunch of people. You can't put your team in those game situations, at least not at full strength. South Range still went and was in the Warren Harding preview a couple of weekends ago, but they didn't have any of their football players, so it was probably really hard for Coach Carden to really see what he has to work with. But the good thing for him and the good thing for some like Poland too, who's in the same boat, they had to wait for their kids to come back and be ready for basketball. There's a lot of kids that you just kind of know what place they're in because they were there last year and they kind of solidified this is my role of the team. So it would be really hard for those schools if they were trying to replace like 4 or 5 seniors that graduated and they really had no idea what to expect this year. At least for those couple of teams that are just now getting started, they have solidified roles, solidified guys that they know exactly what they're going to get out of, and there shouldn't be a lot of surprises on where to plug in people for those teams. So they kind of got a little bit lucky in that sense.
So, yeah, you're saying there's just not it's a smooth transition, not as much of an adjustment period because of being familiar with your roster. And I guess before we get out of here, and if I could throw this one thing at you about your Chiefs coming to town Sunday. Rumor has it, I've heard that Taylor Swift is going to be there in attendance. I wanted to know from you on now the Browns are they've been abysmal. 3-10 football team. So I wanted to know from you, what, if anything, scares you about this matchup? Is there anything that has you a little bit worrisome, or do you think, the Chiefs play their game, they'll come out with a win, and the Browns are one of the worst teams in the NFL, so there's nothing to really worry about? Or do you
Scotty, have you watched the Chiefs this year?
I have.
I'm worried every game because it's like we always just try to. We're a good team that finishes down the stretch. We know how to win games, and I'm not going to argue that. I know a lot of people are sitting here saying, "Well, the Chiefs suck." Well, you don't win 15 straight one score games by sucking, but we're not head and shoulders above everybody where we're blowing teams out. Like we're not that dominant. So every game that with us, I think we've only had like 1 or 2. Maybe it just feels that way, but we have not had very many games where we are in control. Even against the Panthers, who had the same record as you do, we had to go down and kick a game-winning field goal to win it. So it's a different thing every time because, like with the Panthers, our offense was clicking. I mean, we scored 30 points. Our defense was giving up a lot to Bryce Young. I mean, he was starting to feel himself a little bit. And then there are a lot of games where our defense is playing really well, and our offense just is kind of doing enough. Not a lot, just enough. I think we've had like 4 or 5 wins this year when we don't score 20 points, which is a testament to our defense. But it's like our offense. What are we doing here? Now, I know we have injuries. Like Ricky Rice is gone. Hollywood Brown is gone. Everyone has injuries. But, our offense doesn't have the pieces that we thought it would coming into the season. I think what scares everybody when they play the Browns the most is the run game, right? I mean, that's what your bread and butter. When you can get Nick Chubb going, and then that frees up Jameis Winston to be a little bit more of himself. He's not the quarterback that you want to go throw 45 to 50 times to win a game. But if you can run the ball well, you make him throw 25 to 30 times a game. You lower those chances for those big interceptions. He's had you in games like you're right there against the Broncos. You're in it. You beat the Steelers once this year. You
beat the Ravens.
So like, I'm not gonna sit here and say like we're gonna pace the Browns and we're not even gonna worry about this game. I would love to win, and I would love to the Bills to lose again because then we just kind of lock up that 1 seed already and just be like, okay, pack it in. Although I think it would be hilarious. Wouldn't it be hilarious, Scotty, if both the Steelers and the Chiefs were both in positions where they didn't have to play their starters for that last game because Netflix paid so much money for that game, and if they get it and none of the starters are playing,
yeah, that would be.
They would be
funny.
So ticked. They'd be like, "Oh God, we just paid millions upon millions of dollars to watch. I don't even know who our backup is right now."
Yeah, basically watch a preseason game.
Yeah. That'd be that. I would laugh a little bit. But it's gonna be fun. I mean, are you going?
My dad has to work this week, so we unfortunately can't go. But
I would tell my work I quit. Super Bowl champs are coming into town. I gotta be there.
Yeah, I know, right? And
Patrick Mahomes has only played in Cleveland twice, so it's only the second time he's played in Cleveland.
I really wanted to see.
Just drive yourself there, Scotty.
Yeah, gotta learn sometime, right?
No, I think it'll be fun. It'll be a fun game.
Yeah, I hope. I just want the Browns.
Fingers and toes crossed.
I just wanted in the fourth quarter them having a chance, and based on how the Chiefs have played, I think it is.
I don't think you want it close in the fourth quarter. If it's close in the fourth quarter, you're going to be like, well, we lost.
Yeah, because the Chiefs.
That's just the way we've been playing.
All the close games. Yeah.
Basically, yeah, you have to pull a Josh Allen and score and make it a 2-score game, or you're
before
toast.
The fourth quarter.
Or you're toast. No, he did it with like 1 minute left. By the way, that was one of the sickest plays I think I've seen in the season so far. That run that he had to score a touchdown to seal the game against us. Josh Allen is like, I think he's this generation's Dan Marino a little bit because he's so dang good, but so far hasn't even really gotten a sniff that big game yet because he's in the era of other players that are just in teams that are just better right now. Like it's kind of. There's a part of me that feels bad for Josh Allen a little bit because I think he's a good dude. Because I got a lot of respect for him. Him and Patrick Mahomes get along really well. But man, you grew up in the wrong era. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, man, it's just rough ever since the losing, giving Mahomes 13 seconds and losing.
4 straight years he's beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the regular season. And if they play again in the playoffs, it's like, will it matter?
Yeah, you'd have to say it probably won't matter. But
I don't know. We'll see. We will see, Scotty. I hope you enjoy that game. I'll be texting you. I'll be smack talking. You want to put something on it?
All
Put a
right,
hat on it?
Yeah, we can put some on.
Since I never really got an Indians hat from you.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know when we'll see each other to get each other a hat, but whatever. Winner wears other team's hat for this show. Whenever we get the hat to each other.
Yeah, I like that.
All right, Scotty. We will see you next week. Thanks for coming on, buddy. Thank you everyone for watching Running Point on ysnlive.com. Brought to you as always by Greenwood Chevy.